my uncle, my father's brother, he wanted out. The only remaining one was actually Tony Albino. He was the original. And my father, Frank. And then they got two new owners or partners, however you want to put it. The one was Jack Brower.
And he was friends with Tony Albino. The reason why he got involved was when the Benvenuti brothers, one got out, and Tony needed money to buy the other one of the Benvenutis out, and he asked my father to loan him some money, along with Louis Esposito and Bill Hoffman, who was announcing a radio station in London. And then when he got the money together, instead of my father getting back the money he loaned him, he was offered a share of the money along with Esposito, but Hoffman wasn't.
Jack Brower, Louis Esposito, my father, and Tony Albino, naturally. He was the principal. He owned 51% of the track, and my father owned 25%, and Louis Esposito and Jack Brower had 12%, and that makes 100% of the stock in the track.
I would say Jack Brower and Albino were probably the most visible. They were wonderful people, every single one of them. Jack Brower was always so kind. When we started racing, if we had a bad night or whatever, he would come over late after the races when we were all hanging out. He would always go to shake Al's hand, and it always had money in it to help us come back the following week. But the Benvenutis were wonderful, the Albinos, just very nice businessmen. Esposito, they were obviously looking to make money, but they were good, kind-hearted people.
Johnny Benvenuti was a nice guy, too. You know, he helped a lot of guys out.
We each had a job to do. One guy was in the pits. One of the owners was in the pits. One of the owners was in the infield, took care of that end of it. One, and in the office, and one was surveying the concession areas. That's how the thing worked.
I was like Whitehouse's right-hand man. He'd get these things going, and he'd leave it up to me. Like I said, I handicapped the cars. I was the pit steward. I took care of the points. I made good money. Back then, I was making over $100 a week. I made more money working at the Speedbowl than I did working with my father. But I loved it,
One of the things that I do remember is that they paid off in cash after the race.
They used to pay the drivers in cash after the races were over in the shack down by the pit entrance. The main reason for that was that they were paid in cash. They left the beer stands open until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, so the drivers would naturally take the money they earned and buy beer for themselves and their competitors and everything else.
So one of the great things was after the race, you hung around there, and when we were really young, we'd wait and, there's Teddy Stack and there's Ray Delisle, and, you would kind of identify with those people. It was a real hero period.
The owners would all get together after the races and split the beer money up. And I remember my mother bringing home the money, and she'd have to wash it because it was covered in beer. The smell of beer. I mean, they each got their share of the beer money.
The other thing I remember about Waterford, they used to open on Easter Sunday.
We used to open on Easter Sunday. As a matter of fact, I can remember one Easter Sunday it snowed.
And coming from a very ethnic family, very Italian, very Catholic, there was no way we could go. There was absolutely no way we were allowed to be anywhere but going to Mass, right, on Sunday morning, on Easter Sunday, and then you were home all day. And I remember my brother and I just sitting there gritting our teeth, wanting desperately to be at Waterford.
And then I remember John Brower's father in a Corvette with the American flag every week on the national anthem.
He would come out the gate and go around the track with the flag, holding the flag in his Corvette convertible, and the last note would go in the back gate. every week.
I was always perfect with the timing of the national anthem. Every week. Nobody could believe how I hit it every single week. I had it time to a T.
Would never miss. Yeah. Yeah, it was just neat.
The one that did interact with me, one of the owners was Tony Albino, and I won the sportsman championship, the points championship in 1964 at Cohansey. Tony presented me with a big trophy. He used to go to the track a lot. He liked to watch the kids race. And he said to me at that point in time, he said, would you ever consider driving a race car, a car at the bowl when you grow up out of these? And I said, absolutely, And he says, well, you got my word. He says, when the time comes, I'll find you something to drive. So by the time then I got drafted in the service, by the time I come out, he had died. So that kind of went by the wayside.
It's a very good business, especially if you like it, like I used to like it. But it can be a very good business, and it can be a tough business, because if the economy goes down, everything goes down, and they're one of the first things that feel it. By the time you pay your insurance and all your utilities and everything else, it's a tight squeeze. And the real big thing in racing, especially with that particular track, Waterford, you've got to have the concessions, because they're the things that really, believe it or not, you can have the front gate, you can have the back gate, but the concessions, that's where the money is in the concessions, actually. And without the concessions, you'll have an awful tough time making it. In the beginning, things really worked well for the track. Up until about the last 4 or 5 years, things, were a little bit, because the economy had changed too. You take in the early 70s, like 72 and 73, we had a real good recession. The 5 of us that owned the track after our parents, passed on, and we wound up, the kids wound up with the tracks.
Bobby Alvino was the one that was had control.
When did your father pass away?
74.
So it was
Right at
around when the track was being sold.
Right.
When them guys was all together, they ran a pretty good racetrack there,
We never should sold a place, to be honest with you.
I don't know why they really even ever sold it.
There were 5 of us. And in the end, the only thing we could agree on was to disagree. So that's why we decided to sell the track.
We'd have the meetings, and they would almost be at each other's throat.
We finally decided, well, if we can't agree on something, on everything, either one of us buy the track or whatever, because it is not going to work this way. And Javi was our racing director at that particular time for a short period of time. And then he wanted to buy the track. So we shot some numbers around and talked to my partners. That's when we made the deal.